The next woman who is about to come up on stage is the kind of person who I've also been lucky enough to call a friend throughout my life, or through a portion of my life. I met her through my brother Calvin, and I have to say that she's the kind of person that whenever you're in the room with her, you're always just feeling amazing. Like, she just brings a huge smile to your face, and I guarantee you she's going to do the same for you. She has an incredible track record of things that she's done. Her name is Unstoppable Tracy. She's climbed mountains, captained ships, and she's won bronze medals in the para-alpine skiing trial. She's a humanitarian, an award-winning leader, an author, and a decorated athlete, and I'm going to guarantee you she's the person you're going to wish is your new best friend. Put your hands together for Unstoppable Tracy!
Thank you, Stuart. Oh, what a wonderful hello. Thank you. It is so fun to be here because of celebrating the future possibility of children. So I'm going to ask all of you to bear with me to play a little bit of a game in honor of those kids. Can I ask all of the people sort of dead down the center of the room and the second balcony, will you folks on this side, when my arm is in the air, will you say ooh? Ooh. Ooh. Excellent. We don't want anybody left out, everybody included. So can I ask everybody on this side of the room, when my arm is down low, will you say ah? Ah. Ooh. Ah. Ah. Excellent. Ready? Ooh. Ah. Ooh. Ah. Ooh. You know, when I played that out in my living room, it wasn't so sexual. So every time I walk in a room, this is kind of what comes out, the oohs and the ahs. And not just because I'm wearing a short skirt. And, you know, there's oohs and ahs that are in admiration, there's the sexual oohs and ahs, and there's the curious oohs and ahs, and there's also the painful oohs and ahs. And I found myself, much like Steve Page, crying. Unlike Steve, I was not in my underwear. I was in a parking lot outside of my work. I was devastated. I had just lost this great job that I loved and a career from Air Canada and Shoppers Drug Mart. And I don't know about you, has anybody ever cried so hard that they were crying because they were crying? And so one of the reasons that I was so sad was because I am this huge believer in what you focus on grows. And so I was really scared that by focusing on being so sad, that I was just going to invite more sadness into my life. So I was thinking, okay, what's going to be a pick-me-up no matter what? And then I realized it's sailing. So I got laid off 11:30 on a Friday. 5:30, I'm on a plane to San Diego to a sailing regatta. Yeah. There wasn't much sailing in Toronto in October. So I get there, and there's some people training on the water. U.S. Paralympic coach Betsy is doing a bit of a training camp. So I sneak my way in there and train with her all weekend. And I do pretty good on Monday, the first race. I got a bullet. I got a first place on the first race. I was so excited. When I was flying home, it was during Hurricane Sandy. And the flight was so scary that I actually thought I was going to die. So I looked up, another moment like Steve with Jesus. And I'm like, if I live, I want to pursue my Paralympic dream. And I lived. Yes, I'm very glad of that. Thank you. And so I got off the plane, now a week after losing my job, about 5:30, 7:30 at night, I'm phoning other Paralympic trialists to see how do I become a Canadian Paralympic sailor. And they say, oh, Tracy, you got to own your own boat. You'd have to spend 10,000 hours sailing and practicing. You'd need a coach. You'd need lots of funds to fly all over the world. It's so great you did good on Monday, but, you know, it's virtually not very realistic. And I said, well, what would have to happen? And they said, oh, you'd have to train with like a gold Olympian. So I think they thought that they'd settled my concerns. And I asked them, do you know any? Well, they told me there was a Magnus Ligidal in Miami, Florida. But he was a gold Olympian. He probably didn't have time for a 4-way amputee. I thanked them for their time. I started to plan a drive to Miami, Florida. I phoned Magnus, I emailed Magnus, I Facebooked Magnus, I Twittered Magnus, I LinkedIn Magnus. I got nothing. I went anyway. My family, who are here tonight, my wonderful mom, sister, best friend, brother-in-law, they're all in this room. From my, thank you. So many of my family and friends, they love me, they support me, but I think they were very afraid for me because some were almost angry that I was going, but I knew I had to go. So if it didn't fit in my car, it didn't come with me. I paid my next 11 months' rent to my sister so she wasn't burdened with my bills, and I drove down to find Magnus. You know how expensive roaming charges are, right? Yeah. You cross the border, there was no more communication. But every time, every night, I tried to reach Magnus, and I still got nothing. The day before, I'm going to reach Team Paradise. That's the name of his sports club. Jacksonville, Florida. I finally get a reply from Magnus, and it says, if you come, we got boats. Yeah! I'm so excited. I show up the next day. He's not there. I've spent all my savings on my home expenses. I spent all my cash in motels driving down there and gas. A room in Miami is $260 American dollars. So there's these 2 gigantic boats in the boatyard. There's actually hundreds of gigantic boats in the boatyard. So I pull my car up in between a couple of them, and I sleep in my car. The next day, I see Magnus washing a boat. And I'm so excited, and he's got no time for me. So I grab a sponge, and I start to wash the boat with him. For 3 months, I lived out of my car, I washed boats, I got his lunch, I ran errands. I never got to sail with Magnus. So one day I'm on the dock doing a favor for Magnus, and this guy's coming in hot and heavy. He's blowing in fast, Everybody's screaming, turn around, and this guy obviously doesn't know what to do. So I just simply give him a little bit of focus. I say, head for me. And he did. The wind was coming from my back, so if he headed towards me, it would have stopped the boat. It would have deflated his sails. So he gracefully heads to me, the boat stops, and I tie him off at the dock. Magnus is watching from up above. He jumps down onto the dock, and he looks at me sitting on the dock. He says, Tracy, you can sail. He says, come on, let's go. He is like the brother I never had. I love him dearly. He phoned me on Skype this morning to wish me luck for today. I went to 131 trials and regattas and competitions and training camps between 2010 and 2015. I got to the Paralympic trials. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Magnus says, forget that. He says, you can go to World Cup regattas for able-bodied people. So I did that too. Thank you. So Mary taught us we gotta laugh, right? And I learned to laugh, and I think all of us can laugh when we haven't got a leg to stand on. I'm so lucky to have been born this way because it kind of gave me a leg up in learning that lesson. But if I can do it, you can do it. No excuses. 3 keys to becoming an unstoppable you. Exceed uncertainty. When I started sailing, I was falling out of the boat. Embrace the possible. The first time I skied, Mary will love this, wherever Mary is in the stands. Newfoundland, East Coast, there's a run called OMJ. Oh my Jesus. Marble Mountain. I wiped out in the trees 12 times. But as you know, I went on for a bronze in a trials. Thank you. Thank you. Earn that independence. Sometimes you feel really alone out there. I definitely did, hanging on this line, hanging off this cliff. But besides what you do see, which is a terrible shot of my behind in a harness, terrible. What you don't see is there's someone on my lifeline out over that cliff. And it's my sister and my best friend and my brother-in-law and my wonderful mother. But it's also all of you are my lifeline. And earning independence isn't about doing it alone, right? It's about rallying and earning that independence with the people and rallying that support you need. It has been so much fun. It does not have to be the last time we speak. What you focus on grows. Hopefully the next time you're oohing and ahhing, it's for your dreams. Thank you.